Welcome back to another episode of The Secrets of the Scrolls, an Elder Scrolls Legends podcast. I'm Tiny Grimes, I'm your host, and this week I'm joined by Dovakyn, and we're going to talk about a wide range of subjects, such as some stuff that's happening in the news, prophecy cards, are they bad, are they good, do they need to be tuned down? We're going to talk about balance changes that we might want to see. We're going to discuss what cards we're currently trying to break open. We're going to do a little bit of an advanced talk on being flexible in your play, and we're going to conclude with some meta talk. But first, I'd like to bring in my guest, Dovakyn, a man who needs no introduction, but we're going to introduce him anyway. So Dovakyn, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me on your show.
No problem. And Dovakyn, how many hours would you say you've streamed since you started streaming this game? It feels like 7 billion.
Oh my goodness. I haven't looked it up lately, but recently I know CVH posted he was about 190. I'm guessing I'm close because I've been streaming. I know I added up my hours for August because I was curious, and I was streaming 41 hours a week all through August. So.
Oh my goodness!
It's almost a second full-time job time commitment.
Almost? That is. I don't know if you know how jobs work. Usually they're about 40 hours a week.
My real job, I'm always about 39.
So this is even more than your job. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I stream a ton, and I stream more like about 15 hours a week, which, is less than what you're doing by a wide margin, and it often feels like too much, right? Like, it can be hard to really love a game when you're doing it on a clock.
Yeah, and it's something that I've always like watched. I've watched all the Hearthstone streamers. I've been watching streams for years, and I guess I've never appreciated actually how much time goes into it, because like from like a viewer perspective, a lot of times you're like, oh, they're just like doing it, they're making ad money and all this other money. A lot of us are just doing it literally for the game and the community, because we want to see it grow.
The only way you're making money streaming is if you have the kind of viewers that the major Hearthstone streams do. If you are having 200 to 300 viewers a night, 40 hours a week, you're making nothing.
Exactly. So it's one of those things where it's like, man, Twitch viewership's low for the game. Let's put on our boots and go try to make it grow a little more. So
exactly. I have a new rule. I only stream if I'm having fun. I've actually stopped a couple streams early where I was just getting wrecked on the ladder, and I was like, you know what, guys? We're done today. We'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah, that's something I learned as well. It was I think it was about a week ago. I had like a 14-hour stream, and I was so burned out by the end that I didn't even want to see the game, and I quit streaming for like 3 or 4 days. In my head, I was like, I'm done for like a few weeks because I can't do this anymore, But it's definitely been good to like say, okay, this is too much Elder Scrolls. Let's tone it back a bit. Let's make sure that I'm actually watchable when I'm on, So
that can be a challenge.
I've had the same sort of like learning curve when it comes to making sure that I'm having fun and not like a buzzkill the whole time I'm on stream.
So what it sounds like to me is that it sounds like you are like I am, that you just love this game, right? Like, we're not doing it for big money. We do it because we love the game. So my question for you is, how long have you been playing? Were you playing in the closed beta, or did you jump in when I did, which was like right at the end of that closed beta?
Well, I could have played in like as early as the beta was. I got the email announcement. It was like, hey, here's your code. Come on and play. I was actually in the process of moving. I got out of the Air Force and was moving cross country, so I didn't have a computer set up. And then probably about after I had been moved in for a few weeks, I got that second email that said the NDA has dropped, and I was like, oh wow, I should go check it out and start streaming. So I actually started streaming the day the day after the NDA drop, that's when I started playing.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
I think it was
That's
closed beta for like what, 2 weeks?
yeah.
Week and a half, something like
Well,
that.
no. That was in closed beta for like 3 months.
I meant from the time the NDA dropped to open beta.
Oh.
I think it was like
Yes.
It was only like
Yeah.
2 weeks
Yeah.
or so.
Gotcha.
So-
Yep. That's when I was in as well.
Tail end of closed beta is when I started.
So I asked this of all my guests, and it's always the same answer. I'm gonna assume you have not. I'm assuming this is not your first card game. Is that correct?
Not first card game.
Okay. So what did you come from? Did you come from a game that you were sick of, or did you find this game and just fell in love and dropped another card game, or are you juggling multiple card games? What's your story, man?
So, as far as card game experience goes, started collecting Pokemon cards when I was 10, 12 years old. No, I never played the Pokemon card game back.
Did
when I
you
was a kid,
play
but-
like friends?
Never
I had my brother, and he played the Pokemon card game where he would just like be like, "I have Charizard, boom," and then his buddy would be like, "I see your Charizard, and I raise you a Raichu."
Yeah.
And there was no energy
I
or
played the
flipping
trading
coins.
card game, not the.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely collected cards. I have way too many cards, and I've bought lots more as an adult, which is kind of shameful. But no, I played my first real exposure to card games, like a lot of people, I'm guessing, is with Hearthstone. Was
Okay,
a big
so you didn't play Magic competitively or anything like that?
Didn't play Magic at all, no. So I had my Blizzard launcher up, and then Hearthstone came out, and it was like, hey, this new card game, and so I was like, oh, cool, new game from Blizzard. Installed it, played it. I played Hearthstone through Naxxramas, and then League of Legends kind of started getting big. My brother played League of Legends. I was like, oh, League of Legends is cool. Played League of Legends for two years or so. Came back to Hearthstone right before League of Explorers dropped.
Okay.
And then played like super hardcore from there.
Gotcha. Okay, that's cool. And do you
yeah.
play Hearthstone still?
I don't. I played. I think I played like 3 times in the last couple months. Just when I get that nostalgia feeling, like, man, I just want to play some Ramp Druid, or I just want to play some Miracle Rogue or something. I'll log back on and play one game, get smashed in the face by a shaman, and then go back to Elder Scrolls Legends.
I haven't played in so long. I logged in a couple days ago because I was like, I should probably getting my dailies and my gold just in case, like, I decide at some point I actually like this game again. And I was rank 23.
There you go.
And so I was like, really? I'll play a game at rank 23. What the hell? Which of my decks are legal? This deck is legal? Sure. And I threw like some Shaman Evolve deck on the ladder and won a few games, and I have a lot of friends in the game, and people started spectating me, and they're like, what is this new build you have? And I'm like, dude, I'm rank 23. There's no new build. I just got random stuff here. I don't know.
Yeah, I logged on. And it was right after. It was right at the beginning of the month, and usually, I mean, I'd at least put the grind into rank 5 to get the card, the epic card, And I think I was ranked like 20, which was like, wow, I haven't played this game in forever. And I looked at my friends list, which is usually most of my friends were all legend. It's kind of that.
Yep.
Not the like super high legend community, but at least like the top 500.
Yep.
And all of them were also like super low rank. So
yeah,
it showed me that a lot of
You're not
people were
alone.
burned out. So
yeah, I think people are looking right now. I mean, I'm not even going to go into that. That's a whole nother topic for another day. But all right, so you played some Hearthstone. You're now playing Legends. You're loving it. What's your favorite card? Do you have one?
My favorite card is actually probably, I would say, Elusive Schemer.
Elusive Schemer. That's a weird favorite card. Like, it's definitely a super solid card, but that would be like saying, what's your favorite ice cream? And you're like, you know what my favorite ice cream is?
Pistachio.
It's vanilla. Because it's so vanilla-y. Come on, man. Be more creative than Elusive Schemer. I know he draws you a card. He's great.
Wisp Mother is tied. Wisp Mother and Elusive Schemer tied for my favorite card.
You know, it's a great combo. I don't know if you found this to be true, Dovakyn. If you play Elusive Schemer and he dies and you get a 0-cost one, you could play Wismother and get 2 elusive schemers.
Yes,
Oh,
and so that's
man.
that's why it's my favorite because it's one of the only grindy cards. So like back in the Hearthstone days, there like Grinder Mage used to be a thing where your only goal was to just create infinite value and
Right.
run your opponent out of resources. So doesn't have a great win rate with that strategy in this game because of 50 card decks and
Right.
but I've definitely had a lot of fun playing like kind of the infinite value. Get Wismother out, drop 2 or 3 schemers, kind of gets a miracle type effect where you can draw insane amounts of cards every turn. That's my favorite style of play. So
Okay. Yeah. I can't get Wismother to work. I'm just gonna admit it right now. That deck never works for me. Fade had a really cool Wismother deck. I think he took it to top 5 legend or something, and he was like, "Here, try this." I lost 9 straight games. I called it Tier Oblivion.
yeah, I think his list was it running Soul Rest Marshal if I remember
Probably.
correctly. Yeah. I've always played the like late game control, and I don't use it as I only use it as like a Gadget Sand Auctioneer type card.
Sure.
Just that kind of that late game. I'm gonna draw 8 cards, and you're gonna be top decking, and I'm gonna win the game. Kind of a
Seems fair.
strategy.
I like that. I like
So
that because I found in this game that you can't rely on one card. It will die. Like if you're like, I've got this awesome engine, all I have to do is get my Wismother down, and then over the next 3 turns I win. You're like, no, your Wismother's dead. Like it dies instantly. That's how this game works.
yeah, that's been a big kind of frustration slash learning curve with this game is
Yep.
how do I make a coherent deck strategy that doesn't live or die by 3 cards, you
Yes.
know, because this deck in previous games I'd be like, okay, what's my win condition? Let's narrow this down. Let's refine it to one thing, you know. But then you'll find decks fail because of that because you don't have like backup plans.
Yeah.
So I've noticed I've had to build in a lot more secondary win conditions or like more flexible win conditions into
Yeah.
decks just because of the fact that they're 50 card decks
Yep.
and
I
you're not
agree.
going to draw into that card you need most games.
For me, I feel like if I'm ever trying to win with Wismother, then Supreme Atromancer also has to go in the deck because it's sort of doing the same thing. There's some redundancy there. I now have like 5 cards that fill that slot instead of just the 3.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's been it's been interesting.
What would you say is your favorite deck? Like maybe you're not always playing it because it doesn't always do. It's not always the best deck in the meta. But if you could have a deck be the best deck in the meta always, what would be this deck that you'd want to play?
Oh, I'd hate to be redundant, but yeah, probably the Wismother OTK deck that I like playing on ladder. It's one of those decks that I play usually once a week, because it's fun, and a lot of times people on stream they don't. Yeah, you want to see the serious decks like compete heavy, but you also want to have some fun, and so watching a Wismother OTK with the Relentless Raiders is always a good time. It's not consistent. It's barely 50% win rate.
That's a good way to climb the ladder.
So-
I found is about 55% win rate.
Well, if I could get it to 55, I think I could put the grind in, but it's not quite there.
No, I was joking. I feel like if you do a 55% win rate, you steadily drop on the ladder.
Yeah.
The ladder's kind of weird like that. It's like you better put together about a 75% win rate if you actually want to climb.
Yeah, or if you want to see any like real progress.
Yeah. So what are you currently playing on the ladder?
Oh, my current little pet project is Control Warrior.
Control Warrior. What does that even
Yeah.
mean?
So it's really good in Hearthstone. It's not so good in Elder Scrolls. Yeah, I've been trying to make it work, make it consistent.
I guess my question is this using ogres or you mean like late game red purple cards like I don't even know what that would be.
Yeah, my current iteration I'm running like Night Shadows, Nagleaf, Dremora, Markinaz. That's kind of like been my finisher, and then Iron Atronach.
Okay.
But yeah, like the riddle I've been trying to solve is like how do I effectively have removal?
Right.
Because red purple has struggles with removal. Like your only real hard removal is Mummify. But then people have been messing around with the Whirling Duelist plus Daedric Dagger combo that gives you a board clear. But then again, you run into the problem. Okay, my only board clear is these two cards, and they have to be played together. How reliable is that? So I've been using Doomcrag Vampire with things like Sharpshooter Scout, Earthbone Spinner, Nord Firebrand's been running Markarth Bannerman to get Firebrands. You play them with Doomcrag Vampire, they all get lethal effects, so your Sharpshooter Scout turns into an Elena. You can one-shot anything with it.
The problem is, all of these removal options you're talking about are pretty late game. So how are you surviving the early game? Are you doing it just with really good purple creatures like Mammoth and Spellsword guy?
Exactly. So been running like Dragontail Savior, the Orc 2-drop. Been running Young Mammoth, Restless Templar, it's kind of like your health gain. Night Shadows to stabilize in that mid game.
Who's Restless Templar? I don't even know this guy.
Restless Templar is the 5/2 that lets you gain 5 health.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's been helping me.
Okay.
Survive to the late game a little bit.
So I guess I have a question. Do you run Burn and Pillage in this deck, or is it just it's too control-y where Burn and Pillage doesn't have as much effect?
Yeah, I don't run Burn and Pillage just because I'm not. It's the strategy of let's freeze them at 26 and then we're gonna make a 24/24 Iron Atronach and swing face.
Gotcha.
But
wait, you're making a 24/20? Oh, because of that guy.
Yeah, with Dremora or something huge with Dremora to win the game.
That sounds interesting.
But yeah, to return to what we were talking about, like the deck was never consistent for me because all of my removal was based on Doomcrag Vampire.
Right.
And without it, all I have is a Sharpshooter Scout and a Spinner, which is okay removal on its own, turns 1 through 3, 1 through 4, but then it falls really flat really fast in the late game when they drop a Burglar or a Manticore or something you have to remove.
Right.
So I run Markarth Bannerman, but I've added Northwind Outposts, which is traditionally an aggro card. Friendly red creatures have +1/+0.
Right.
That's been to turn my Firebrands into removal when I can't find my
I like that.
my Doomcrag. So my Firebrands turn into 3/1 charges or 4/1 charges, and it's basically like a spell from hand.
Wait, how are they turning into 3/1 and 4/1 instead of 2/1?
So a Northwind Outpost.
I mean, are you running multiple Northwind Outposts?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow. So you have like 3 of them out there and just...
Yeah. So you're dropping little 4/1 bombs. You can clear their board every turn for free if your Bannerman gets to go off, of course. But I'm also running 3 raiding parties. So that has like... Just doing that by adding like a secondary way to use your removal, that's like skyrocketed the win rate. So just looking at my last 10 games, it's 6-2.
It seems like you've been describing a deck that's almost entirely purple creatures. And then you're like, and I'm running this card that only buffs red creatures.
Exactly. Yeah, and everybody on stream is like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's like,
I would have been thinking the same thing. You're a lunatic.
It's like, I know but I know the frustration of being like, I have a handful of removal and no Doomcrag.
Right.
And it's helped me a ton.
That's a very interesting idea. I'll have to think about that.
That backup plan, and it doesn't make any sense. Like from all my traditional deck building theory, it's like that card doesn't synergize with the rest of your deck. But it's like that card
seems like, and I'm probably wrong here, but it kind of seems like Plunder might do the same thing, only better.
Yeah, and that might be true. Give you better items. I'll test it out.
I mean, it wouldn't be as consistently there would be the problem. Like, it'd be more of a one-off. It'd be like a removal card rather than the card that's giving you sustained removal. So it kind of depends on what it feels like you need or what's more effective.
Yeah, it might be good to try. Yeah, I haven't. I'm gonna play it again today as well.
Huh.
It's
The
one of
deck
those
sounds fascinating, though.
one of those projects in the works.
Yeah, I love projects. Love them.
Warrior's in a bad place. I actually saw it was after I got done streaming. I gave Boom's Life a host, and somebody was playing Warrior at number 6 Legend, and it was
Whoa.
a Tempo Warrior. So, someone's got a Tempo Warrior figured out. I'll be excited to see
That will be interesting.
see that deck list.
It's not that surprising to me because purple has such strong cards, and then red has burned and pillaged. And so it's like just that combination alone feels like you can push pretty hard. I think, though, when anyone has that attitude, they're like, well, I'll just switch to green because I feel like green's cards are better than purple's cards slightly.
Yeah, so purple has just natural, like you said, natural tempo in the early game with like Dragon Tail Savior, Windkeep Spell Sword, Young Mammoth, but what it lacks is a comeback mechanic.
Yeah, and it doesn't have draw.
Whereas like Prophecy Assassin has a comeback mechanic because you might get to play cards for free.
Yeah.
A lot of bad Prophecy cards in Warrior.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
A lot
yeah.
of bad ones. So not as much of a comeback mechanic.
Do you run Enchanted Plate just to have a little draw, or where is your draw coming from?
My draw is coming from people hitting me in the face.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. I've tried running Enchanted Plate. It looks great on paper. But
That's funny because I feel like it looks like garbage on paper.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I think
hate
drawing a card is great.
Oh, drawing a card is great.
And +3 health is sounds great, but like because lethal's in the game and silence and all that, like really it doesn't even matter how much health your creatures
Yeah, I feel
have.
like there's so much removal that the only way this card is good is if you play it on a bad card that they don't want to remove.
Yeah, or when you stick it on like an untargetable guard like Nahagleave
That dude dies anyway. He dies to Leaf Lurker. He dies to Manacora. He's targetable. Who are you kidding? Stop kidding yourself.
Yeah, I actually built. There's absolutely no card draw on the deck. The card draw is kind of like raiding party. Add stuff to your hand or.
So you heard it here first from Dovakyn. Card draw is overrated. He don't need it.
I think it's a slightly. I think you can expect if you're building a control deck that people are going to hit you in the face a ton. So it's like I have card draw built in my deck because I'm going to get hit in the face a ton.
Yeah, that's true. The Muhammad Ali approach. Punch me, but don't knock me out. All right. Well, that's really fascinating. I'm currently working on some other stuff. We'll get to this later with the cards we're trying to break. That's what I'm working on is breaking a card, and we'll get to that later. But let's move on to the news. I don't know if you saw this week, Dovakyn. Kalento hit number 1 on the ladder. He tweeted this, but to me, way more important than that is this wasn't on stream. This wasn't some sponsored event. This was just Kalento apparently loving the game so much that he decided to grind his way to number 1.
Yeah, that was surprising, and surprising. So many mixed emotions. Surprising and awesome and sad and.
Okay, why does sad come in? I want to hear this one.
Oh well, so I was following that. There was a thread on Reddit, that brought it to my attention.
Yep.
And somebody had asked him, like, hey, why don't you stream? And he's like, because it has no viewers.
Yeah.
So he's kind of, I feel like, in the same position as a lot of those Hearthstone pros where they love card games. They're awesome at card games. I mean, Kalento has like a freaking gift because he's just freakishly good at strategy games. But he's probably so bored at Hearthstone and the lack of strategy that it offers that he's willing to stay up all night and play another card game and excel at it. So awesome that that he's playing the game so much, but then sad because it gets absolutely no publicity outside of a tweet.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's a good point. To me, it's less sad and it's more the reality that that's just how the world works, right? Like that, his day job is to play Hearthstone.
Yeah.
And this game has not reached day job status. I have no idea if it will. I do feel like, and I'm curious to hear what you think about this, that this game has a greater chance than any card game that has come yet, an online one, and any that I've seen down the future, except maybe Gwent, having that chance to not dethrone Hearthstone by any means, but sort of be Hearthstone's little sister that gets quite a bit of views, quite a bit of publicity, because it has a big enough company backing it and a big enough IP backing it.
I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah.
I wouldn't stream or do any. I wouldn't do anything if I thought that the game was not headed anywhere. But I love Elder Scrolls games. I love Bethesda games. I think they do a great job. I think they've done a great job with this game. So I'm hoping, trying to work hard with the rest of the community to let's put content out. Let's get it out. Let's try to grow it. It definitely appeals to the strategy deck building minded people that played Hearthstone.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like
Gives
it's
them
really
a whole new
good game, right? That's the key. Like, it's my problem has always been there's all these games out there. Like, I like to say we're living in the golden age of online card games. There are so many good games, but just having good mechanics is not enough. Like, balancing is really hard, and these little companies falter all the time. They'll have a meta where there's like one dominant deck, one other deck that's decent, and then all the other decks are garbage. And you're just like, come on, guys, balance the game better than this.
Yeah, I was watching Raynad's stream the other night actually. He brought up Elder Scrolls Legends. Someone asked him if he was interested in making his own card game, or being a contributor,
Sure.
And he said absolutely not. And he's like, it doesn't even matter how good the mechanics are. It doesn't matter how well it's balanced. He said like Hearthstone is not even in his top 10 as far as fun, good card games. But that doesn't matter at all. What matters is he always has that business hat on, and it's like it really doesn't matter how well tuned and balanced the card game is. What matters how well marketed it is, how accessible it is, and how many people are actually watching it and playing it. So that's kind of where this game is at. Like, the game is awesome. The game is has great strategy. It appeals to I think it appeals to all audiences. It can appeal to the fun crowd as well as the strategy crowd. Now it's just a matter of like how much publicity are we going to get this game, and how accessible are we going to make it for the player base. Yeah.
I agree. I'm just hoping that with this big of a company, this big of an IP, we can get the eyeballs on the game. That's really what I'm hoping happens. I'm going to actually say this. There is one thing that is kind of a problem. That's prophecy cards. With new players, I love the prophecy mechanic, but I think new players often really struggle with it, and that's going to be a hurdle. Like, I've seen a lot of sort of like at PAX and other events like this where there's sort of new players watching. They're always like, what? That card's disgusting and just wrecks you out of nowhere. That's a terrible mechanic. So I want to talk about that real quick. What do you think about prophecy cards just like as a thing without talking about individual ones? Do you like the mechanic or do you not like the mechanic?
I do. I love the mechanic. And I like it because card games naturally need to have RNG. It's what makes it exciting. It's what makes it, But I feel like Prophecy is something you can both build your deck around to take advantage of, and also it's controllable RNG to an extent because you can choose when you want to trigger runes. So, I think it is slightly, the way it is right now, I think it's slightly detrimental to new players, especially because a majority of your online card playing base is going to come from Hearthstone. Right. So Hearthstone, you mindlessly go face. You play your cards, you go face. And the first time you do that in this game, I know all of us have experienced it. You get javelined, or you get, and you get punished immediately.
It's always javelin. It's always javelin.
It's always javelin.
And you always screw up. The first time you do it, you attack with your 1/1 when they're at like 16.
Yep.
Drops them to 15, and then it javelins your 9/9 guy, and you go, what? No! What just happened? This game is crazy.
this game has more RNG than anything. You know,
Exactly.
you got so lucky. And
Yeah.
it's something that I think it's maybe like a perception problem. It's something you have to like think about and learn. But I agree with you that maybe for that new player who just steps in and plays his first 2 or 3 card games, gets blown out of the water by random prophecy cards, he might just discount the game entirely and be like, this game's just full of RNG. You just got a lucky
Yeah.
card. When that's
And
absolutely not the case.
it's really tough because especially a lot of the people right now who come from Hearthstone are tired of the sort of casual RNG heavy feel of Hearthstone. That's like their big complaint quite often when they leave Hearthstone. And then when they see Javelin come off the top and wreck them, they say, oh, well, this game has it as well. But I'm with you. I think the mechanic is fantastic because it adds that next level of thought. Every single time you swing face, you're thinking, do I really want to do this? And I want to admit something. When I loaded up Hearthstone the other day, I almost didn't swing face. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna swing. And I was like, whoa, this is Hearthstone. What are you doing? Just swing the face already. So that was kind of funny.
It definitely adds a second tier. You have to think of all of that class's prophecy cards and say, okay, if this comes down, how do I deal with it?
Right. How am I mitigating?
So it adds a lot of strategy.
Yeah, that's what I like. Like I like RNG that can be mitigated. I don't like totally random RNG. Like if there was a card that came down and was like, I attack your face, and then maybe they get the card that says it does 15 damage to your opponent. Like that would be absurd RNG, right? Like no one would like that. That would not be fun. But my question is, are there any cards that you feel like have this prophecy mechanic that maybe need to be adjusted a little bit? Because what I hear bandied about all the time, which I think is completely wrong and a bad way to say this, is, hey, prophecy cards are fine. They're all way overcosted, and it offsets the mechanic. And then people inevitably go, what about A, B, C, D, and E, the main ones that everyone plays? Oh, yeah, no, those ones aren't all overcosted. They just recognize. Yeah. So, which prophecy cards, let's start with one for each of us, would you say maybe this one needs to be toned down or changed a little bit?
Easy pick, Moonlight Werebat. That by far the most oppressive prophecy card. It's played in every green deck because you want it in aggro, you want it in tempo, you want it in control for the healing. But so prophecy is built as a comeback mechanic to kind of like gatekeep aggro a little bit, you know, to say, okay, you can't just mindlessly rush my face. I have some counterplay. I have some cards options that I can put in my deck to have a comeback mechanic. Werebat is way over the line for that. It provides insane tempo. Like a 4/3 with Drain is good enough on its own. So the fact that you might get to play it for free is broken. But I think it gatekeeps aggro a little too much. I think like having an aggro set of decks that are viable is very good, and there are viable aggro decks. But if you are playing an aggro deck and this comes off of their first rune, you lose. And that's frustrating.
You know what's really funny about this card is that it wasn't even played for a long time. Like, this is a fairly recent discovery. Like, it feels like in closed beta they weren't playing it. In those first tournaments it wasn't in lists. It's just now, like in maybe the last 3 weeks or month, it's really become popular. I think that's very interesting. And I wonder if that's one of the reasons why it still exists, is because no one really noticed the power of it. And now that they have, it feels like it's probably more on the watch list than it was before.
Yeah, I think Corey Millhouse kind of brought it all into light. He kind of was the head ringleader for the Prophecy Assassin meta. And since then, everybody's realized, hey, I can play a 4/3 with Drain for free sometimes, and so now it's in every deck for green.
How would you fix this card? What would your change be?
So my philosophy with Prophecy cards is that they need to be unplayable from your hand for tempo.
I wouldn't go so far as unplayable. I would say not the ideal choice.
I guess when I say unplayable, I mean like if this needs to be like a 6 mana 4/3 with drain, so that you can't play it in a mindless. It is mindless tempo, prophecy, assassin decks that they basically play themselves. But there has to be, and maybe six Magicka is a little too much, but like there has to be a tempo loss if you play it from your hand. So you can't, a 4/3 for 4 with drain is playable turn 4, and you don't lose any tempo.
Yeah.
I have the same issue with like Black Sat Protector, a 3/3 with guard, with prophecy. None of those are tempo loss.
Yeah.
Played from hand.
So I agree with that. I think basically it needs to be bad on curve. I think that's the way I would describe it. So I would either make it at least 5 Magicka, or maybe even only like a 2/3, so that if it comes off the top, it's not that brutal. Like, it's 2 health is pretty good. You got it for free, or you play it for 4 because you desperately want a card that stays on the board and heals. But that's how I would fix it. I would either reduce the stats or up the Magicka 1 to 2. But I agree, playing it on curve is a problem. And I'm going to return to the Black Stat Protector in a minute, because I disagree with you on that one. All right, and the one I'm going to say as my main one that needs to be changed, and I know this is going to sound surprising, is Fighters Guild Recruit.
Yeah.
What I don't like about Fighters Guild Recruit is that it has lethal. I don't think there should be cards that are that punishing, and I think Werebat fits into that, right? Werebat is in that category of, like, I got free, huge life gain swing, and Fighters Guild Recruit is very similar in that it comes off the top, and then they get to now attack with it on their turn and kill your 9/9 out of nowhere. I don't like that kind of prophecy mechanic. I love having guards come off the top. I think that's such a great mechanic of, like, you think you have lethal, but you might not. Like, you might not have lethal. A guard might come off the top. I think that's fantastic. A guard with lethal, I think that's pushing it way too far.
Yeah, so if we look at the kind of the popular prophecy cards, a lot of it's removal. So yeah, like Javelin for willpower, or lightning bolts, or firestorm, and I think the developers intended that the prophecy cards were specifically a comeback mechanic, but they've kind of been abused to the point where they're a pure tempo mechanic, and
I like removal coming off the top. I like guards coming off the top. I don't like them combined into one.
Yeah, the Fighters Guild Recruit is good turn 2, it's good turn 10, it's good at any stage in the game because it has lethal, and it's good as it's just overall good.
Yeah, I would be fine with this card if they took off lethal or they took off guard. Take off one of the two, and then it's a prophecy card that wrecks you. It totally wrecks you if it has guard. It totally wrecks you if it has lethal. They're both wrecking, but they don't together. To me, it's a broken card.
Yeah. And I think I'm trying to think, like, why does a card, like, when does it transfer into that, like, broken territory? And I think that's when it's played in every single green deck. Is when it steps into broken. When it's played
not even every
aggro,
single
tempo,
one.
control, anything.
Right. But it's not even just every deck. It's every deck, and then you're always happy to see it.
Yeah.
That's the other problem. And I feel like Werebat is the same. Prophecy, turn 4, turn 8, you're always like, oh, cool, a Werebat. They better remove this right away.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. I want to talk about... Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have another broken one?
I don't, as far as prophecies go. I can't think of one that I don't want to, like... It seems like all of them are green. So I don't want to go on for days about how, like, amazing green is.
Then I want to talk about some good prophecy cards. I think a really amazing prophecy card is Loyal Housecarl. It's a card that can be played in your deck, like in a very specific deck, but it's not that good. But coming off prophecy, it becomes very strong, but not broken strong. Like, being able to give a guy guard and a huge buff, so it's really hard to get through him when you think you're pushing for lethal, I think is a fantastic design.
Yeah, I think that is if I had to pick a card that's absolutely perfectly balanced, it would be that card. It's a 5 Magicka at worst on an empty board played from hand, a 4/4 with guard.
Hmm.
So it's understated, barely for its cost.
Yep.
But then it's not oppressive when it's comes off of prophecy. So
Right.
yeah, I agree with you. I think it's just absolutely perfect
And
balance.
it's great for anti-aggro. If they're trying to aggro your face, it's going to kill a guy. It might even kill two guys, but it doesn't have lethal, so it then is punishing against a late game deck or something where it's like, okay, we're getting to the late game. Oh goodness, you just magically got this broken card off the top of your deck. Well, that is
Right.
unfortunate.
And it's not giving enough attack to matter as far as
Right.
going face crazy, mindlessly.
Another card that I think is perfectly balanced for Prophecy is actually Black Sap Protector. Because I feel like 3/3/3 with guard is not that impactful. Like on curve, I look at this card and whenever I build a green deck, I'm like, he just feels slightly underwhelming for what he is. Like if I want a guard, I want like a 3/4 guard or a 3/5 guard. A 3/3 is kind of blah.
Yeah, I mean, I can agree with you as far as from the guard perspective. So like I agree with you that prophecies should be more defensive in nature. Like okay, it's a 3/3 guard. It's a like a house Carl. It's going to provide like guard because that kind of defensive mindset allows prophecy cards to be that comeback mechanic to defend,
Right.
and not be like I'm I'm constantly hitting your face and hitting your face with everything you play. I get off prophecy, and that's where it's at. That's where
Yeah.
green's at right now.
It's funny because I didn't even really realize what my thoughts on Prophecy were until we were talking. And that's exactly what it is, that I want Prophecy cards to be very defensive oriented and help you stay alive rather than just completely punishing and game breaking.
Yeah, like Darren Cutpurse has no business being a prophecy
Yes.
card at all.
I agree.
2/2 that grows,
Yeah.
and you
It's
play it
not
for free.
broken, but it's just like, why is it a Prophecy card? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's not helping you defend. It's not helping you come back. It's applying even more pressure.
Yeah.
So I would like to see as far as development goes more of a defensive counterplay minded strategy. Ransack is perfectly balanced in my opinion.
Yeah.
Absolutely awful off played on turn 6, but amazing off prophecy, but not oppressively amazing. It's got that
Right.
defensive
Yep.
gain health mindset. So
What
I'd
about
like
Javelin?
I think Javelin is fine.
Yeah.
Absolutely
I do too.
fine.
And I think it's because exactly what we're talking about. It may feel super oppressive, but it's extremely defensive. Like it's just killing one dude. Yes, you get to call the dude, and it makes it a little bit difficult to run decks that are like we talked about, reliant completely on like a Wisp Mother. And then when you pop the prophecy, your Wisp Mother dies, and you're like, oh my god, that was just game breaking. But I feel like it's not pushing their agenda as much.
Yeah, and it doesn't generate tempo from hand. Like played on curve, no tempo is gained.
Yeah, just a
by
1/1.
playing hard removal. Yeah, so I think Javelin is very completely fine.
Yeah, which is interesting because I think a lot of people point to Javelin as like the great example of a broken prophecy card, and I really don't think that's the case.
Yeah, I think it's that new crowd too. They're like, "What? He got to kill one of my things for free?"
Yeah.
Right. and before you, unless you play the game more extensively past 10 games, then you'll realize, wow, there were much worse prophecies than Javelin. Javelin's the least of my worries. A lot of times it's I shouldn't have gone face as the answer if
Yep.
you're
I love that.
punished by
I
it.
love doing this. Like, I don't have to go face here, but I kind of want to set up the 2-turn lethal. What's the worst that could happen? And they're like, the worst that could happen? You just lost your main guy. And you're like, yep, no, I shouldn't have gone face.
Werebat is the worst that can happen.
Shouldn't have gone face. Damn.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of this, and I normally don't like to do this, so I want to preface it here and say I do think the card pool looks really solid, but because we're in beta, and we were just talking about maybe revising some prophecy cards. I want to talk about, are there a couple of cards that you just think maybe we should be rebalancing slightly and it would make the game even better? Like, I'm not trying to say I think the game is unbalanced. I think they've done an amazing job. There's just a handful of cards that I feel like a slight tweak, and it could be even more amazing. What would be your number one offender that's not named Werebat?
I actually, if I had to make a change, it wouldn't. I don't know if it would be a specific card, but it would be adding more reliable removal to red. And that sounds oppressive, maybe, because red has a lot of aggressive cards. But
sure,
as I've tried to build a control warrior, it's been difficult because you have to make up your own removal. You know, your removal's not built into the attribute. You know, there's no javelins. There's no, and I like personally to see every attribute combination be able to play aggro mid-range control. I think that if you can achieve that, you have the perfect game.
Yeah, I agree. It'll do it slightly differently, but yeah, you can do it.
Yeah, and so, like, my two right now that I have issues with are Battle Mage and Warrior, because Warrior, and maybe we're cracking the code right now. I doubt it, but you know, maybe we're finding those that unicorn priest. But like Battle Mage has no healing, so it's difficult to play control Battle Mage. Warrior has very, very spotty removal, so it's difficult to play control Warrior. I just would like to see every attribute be able to play any style. That to me is the dream.
There's a red card we'll get to later that I've been trying to break, and so I've been playing red with every other faction. And red is such a great support faction, but when it becomes sort of the driving force, like you're saying, I feel like it's just missing control. And the only way you get it is if you're going more aggro style, so that you then have burn and pillage. But if you want to do a more controlling style, you're kind of stuck.
Yeah. So yeah, the burn and pillage kind of says you will play aggro if you play red, you know, and I don't like that. I like maybe having more options. So I guess that's why I brought up Battle Mage and Warrior. They have red, but they're not Archer.
I think the real obvious answer is to play Trebuchet and do 4 random damage to something every turn.
Schwitty would agree with you. Trebuchet is in every one of these red decks.
I'm pretty sure it's just the obvious choice.
Yeah, if it didn't go face, but it always goes face, you know. Mine always go face.
I'm going to say a kind of a crazy one. It's not my top one, but Ungolem the Listener, I'd like to see him changed. I know that sounds absurd. He's just a 2-1 for 1, but I think those assassins are too much RNG. Like when your opponent goes turn 1 Ungolem, and then like the next 2 turns just magically has these assassins, they basically win. And I really don't like that.
Yeah, I agree. I brought up, I think at one point, either it was a Reddit thread or it was on Discord, that I'd like to see him change to, and it's a subtle change. Shuffle 5 cards into your deck. At least 5 cards into your deck. Okay. So you can't play this turn 1 and then play 2 3/3s with lethal and end the game. On turn 2 or 3. And that's the type of RNG that is always disheartening. The type you can't play around, the type that, I just win. Because I'm lucky.
I feel like the change should be that he's fine, but the Brotherhood Assassins become 1/2s with lethal. So here's the point. You're still getting to cycle a card for 1 and get lethal. So those Brotherhood Assassins are most likely going to kill something and draw a card, all for the low cost of 1. It's just they can't also push face damage. So you can make that decision like, okay, I'm going to avoid them, and then you can support them with other good cards and punish them for avoiding that assassin, but the assassin itself doesn't push the win.
Yeah, that would be a good change as well. Again, it's in that broken territory. Played in every green deck. Tazcad's the same. Even if you're playing, late game ramp or control, you're putting Tazcad in every deck, and
Yeah.
those are the types of cards that's like, man, maybe there's a balance tweak that's needed because
Yep.
a card shouldn't be in every deck.
I feel like
every card should have its like moment to shine and not just be a
Yeah.
one size fits all.
I think Tazcad definitely needs a balance tweak. And this is my reasoning. Because there's so much removal in this game, whenever I'm looking at a card, I want it to do one of two things. Have an effect when it comes into play, or have an effect when it leaves play. Because an effect that it gains just by sitting on the board, if it's a good effect, it means it's going to die. And Taz sort of like breaks the mold by saying, I do something when I come in and when I come out. And so my balance change would be something like make him a 5/5. It's a pretty subtle thing, but it's just a little bit worse, and he's still bonkers good.
Yeah, I think so Tazcad's meant obviously to be the top end finisher
Yep.
for green. So I wouldn't even mind if it was an 8/8 with charge if
Sure.
it had no last gasp.
Yep.
So like, okay, green's finisher is Tazcad. I have to play around this 8 damage or whatever it is, that it's that Leroy Jenkins finisher.
Yep.
But it's not like this card's going to go face probably twice and again with the 4/4. So
Right.
it's just a little too much.
Would this be balanced? An 8/6/6 breakthrough charge, period.
An 8/6?
It's-
Oh,
no.
an 8/6/6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
I
take
think-
out the last gasp. Would he still be playable?
Absolutely.
I think so, too.
Cliff Racers played.
Yeah, I think he would still
So.
be good, because especially with the breakthrough, because you can walk over the guys with taunts or guards. I think another interesting change could be last gasp instead of summon a 4/4 guy, do 2 damage randomly, something like that.
Oh, and I hate random damage.
I do
effects,
too,
but
but man, getting a 4/4 is just ridiculous. Like Tazcad is totally ridiculous right now.
or even like go the Mournhold Trader route where it's like
Yeah.
if this dies, it's giving your opponent something with guard because like it's meant to be the card you play to win the game. Like
That's hilarious. Though he is so good that we're willing to make his last guess something that helps the opponent.
and he would still be played.
He would still be
Because,
good.
yeah, because his job is to finish the game. So
Yeah.
but it should be that card that finishes the game the turn he's played, not be hitting your face for 3 turns.
Yeah. I feel like in a different game, and this may be the game they were designing, where removal doesn't always remove the card, he's different, right? Like, if a card's not always getting removed every second comes into play, then other late game cards are fine as well, and he's just slightly better, because it's like, if he dies, there's a 4/4 afterwards, haha. But with the fact that all cards die, it's just so insanely powerful.
Yeah, really.
I
good.
feel like he is way over the curve. Like everyone talks about things like Brutal Ashlander, who I think is a problem. I think Tazcad is way more of a problem.
Yeah, Tazcad's insane. I don't know.
What
I
about
don't know
Brutal
how to fix
Ashlander?
it.
Do you think that card needs a tweak?
Which one?
Brutal Ashlander?
Brutal Ashlander. A lot of people don't play it anymore. And
Yeah,
I,
it's interesting.
I don't know if it's just out of principle.
Yeah. I don't think so. I think it's fairly low impact. It's just a 1/1. You can avoid it.
The people who do play it are playing it because they know that this has a possibility to trade with like a 3 Magicka minion and just be insane,
Yeah, I don't like that. I hate the fact that if your opponent gets lucky and gets it turn 1, the whole game is wrecked. Because you're like, okay, so I couldn't deal with it turn 1. He answered my minion with it now. So now I can't even play my 3-drop because it might die. So what, I have to pass turn 3 because there's a Brutal Ashlander on the board? It just feels terrible and wrong half the time.
Yeah, and it's the type of bad RNG. You know, somebody's mad every time Ashlanders goes off.
Yep.
And that's bad card design.
Yeah.
You can't play around it. It's coin flip. You can silence it maybe, but you have to give up 2 turns and wait for
You're
your
gonna silence a
spinner.
1-drop? Oh god.
But it's just that type of RNG that can decide a game on a coin flip, and it can decide a game early, and somebody's mad every time.
Yeah.
That's the type of card that's kind of poor design.
The main reason I stopped playing Hearthstone, I know it's going to sound ridiculous, is Knife Juggler and Implosion. And this card is basically Knife Juggler and Implosion.
Yeah, anyone who's like followed Raynad knows like the salt when it comes to bad card RNG. But yeah, he put out a really good video that explained like what good card RNG is and what bad card RNG is. And like, for example, like the Discover mechanic in Hearthstone is awesome RNG. You know, because it's something that affects your hand. You have the ability to choose a situational card for a situation. Yes, it's RNG, the cards that are offered to you, but there's no avoiding RNG in card games.
Right.
The nature of card games is RNG. You draw. Sometimes you don't draw. Sometimes you draw. You know, but then there's RNG like Flame Imp and you know Implosion and Knife Juggler that affect the board.
Right.
Early in the game, turns 1, 2, 3, and that's unhealthy for the game because you can have a game lost by a coin flip, and that's the type of environment that people are leaving Hearthstone for. So I would like to see much less of this in the future. Hopefully no more of this.
I would even not mind like Brutal Ashlander, 4-drop, 4/5, deal 3 damage to a random enemy, because then it's like, well, it was an investment. Like the board is way different. It's not a 1-drop trading up for a 3-drop. That's the problem.
I think it just needs to be
2.
I don't, whatever the number is, whatever. But like either to the board or to the face. So I know what to play around. You know.
Yeah.
So
I wish it was to the face.
Yeah, I think to the face would be better.
Then he becomes an aggro card. He has a very clear function. He's an aggro card. If you're looking to play aggro, maybe you want to play Action Mage or something, you know you have this guaranteed 2 extra to the face unless they do something about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just something where you know it's either going to affect my board or it's going to affect my health, you know. One or the other, not maybe one or the other. And I'm like I said, somebody's mad every time. I can't think of a situation where an Ashlander went off where that person wasn't mad. Unless you absolutely know and you want that Ashlander to go face and there's nothing else on the board. So, yeah, it's just
scenario.
I would love to see none of that in the future. We got enough boombots in our life. Let's move on to the
I agree.
to the real strategy.
Let's talk about what we're playing or what is a card that we're looking to break. And for me, I'm going to start because I'm so excited about it. It's the Hrothgar Forge. I feel like the Hrothgar Forge is crazy good, and I haven't seen anyone really been able to break it. And here's my thinking with the card, is that you can play it in a fairly aggressive deck, and it becomes your finisher. And the reason it's your finisher is because you are able to then be able to play a 3-drop, a 2-drop, a 4-drop with substantial impact every single turn, rather than getting to that end of the game and then going, crud, like, come on, Taz. Maybe I'll get Taz. Oh, darn, they've set up a bunch of guards. Taz is not going to be enough now, or they healed once, and now I just lose. I just love this idea of changing the utility of cards based on another card. I feel like it's incredibly flexible, cool concept.
Yeah, I've played around with it a lot. Not anything like super serious. I haven't included it in anything that's like achieved anything on ladder, you know. But
definitely me as well. These decks that I'm showing, don't try them. They're not good. They're very early in the process.
I know. I think it's Romanesque. Has this as a one of in his Archer deck, and this was a couple weeks ago. The meta seems to be changing like weekly, so
daily.
Who knows? Daily, yeah. But he was including a one of in his Archer list, and it was for that exact purpose, so that if you're facing that Control Mage or that ramped Scout deck, all your little guys turn into big threats late game. So it kind of helps you scale your deck a little bit into the late game.
I agree.
Really tough to make your win condition this card though, as I've tried to do.
Yeah, I have a crazy Battle Mage deck that I'm showing right now, where the late game is this. It's just like it's all these cool early game stuff, right? Like you've got your Soul Splits, your Spy Masters, the Ashlander, the Summoner, all the stuff that you can Soul Split and make copies and get a bunch of stuff out, right? And then when it shifts to late game, now suddenly you have Merrick as a potential finisher or really good card. You have Wismother to, like you were talking about, give you this giant board sort of out of nowhere. You have the Atromancer to finish, and you have the Forge. It's like all these cards to turn your early game threats into late game threats as well. It's been total garbage, but theoretically it should be awesome.
Yeah, the deck that I ran in, it was actually a Control Archer with Spider Lair as well.
Whoa.
Yeah, so Spider Lair would summon a random spider, and then it would get an item as well. So instead of just being a little 1/1, it would get Dwarven Armaments, and you would just kind of that kind of fatigue style where I'm just gonna throw these massive spiders at you every turn to win the game.
That's interesting. I tried something similar with Crusader, and didn't do it because I already had in there Divine Fervor. But I was thinking about Imperial Might. Maybe that would work because it's a little bit cheaper, and again, it's the 1/1 every single turn, and buffing it up could be interesting.
Yeah, that's the card. I've been beat by that card a few times while playing Control Mage. It's like I'm taking out the support removal. All I'm seeing is Prophecy Assassin, and then you get some guys playing a token spell sword Imperial Might fatigue deck, and you just lose because they just out resource you infinitely. Fun cards though. I love those fun support cards.
Mm-hmm. I agree. So what's the card that you're really trying to break right now?
Oh, card I'm trying to break. Let's see. Dremora Markinez.
Yeah, that's right. You're already talking about him. He does seem... I think he's... It's funny because he's both underrated and not underrated. If he was like 7, he would be bonkers.
Yeah, so he has a very very mediocre effect for 10 Magicka. I mean, not even as good of an effect as Manticore, and Manticore is an epic, So it's just been one of those cards where I was like, man. So I have all the cards, and I've been trying to figure out, all those underplayed ones. And I was looking through my list, and I was like, nobody plays Dremora. Dremora has like. All gameplay aside, the absolute most cool intro, music, voice, animation, just freaking awesome.
I don't even know. I've never seen it played.
It's like, so most cards have like a voice effect, when you play it. This one is like louder, crisper, like crazy. I'm a demon from the void, and then this huge like mace thing comes into play. I don't know the lore well enough to know the name of whatever it is.
Yeah.
Last night I hit somebody in the face with a 24/24 Iron Atronach. That's just so fun, and slightly viable. It's a good finisher, so it's not completely unplayable by any means.
I feel like you said his effect is underwhelming. I feel like he might have the best effect of the game. Like, just imagine if this dude was a 5-cost guy, and so you could have like your 4-cost 6/6 purple guy with guard. And then just be like, boom, Dremora, 12 to the face. Like, that would be a stunningly amazing effect. I think the problem is, at 10, it puts it in the spot where, like, these more aggressive cards have died. And so now you're either playing a control deck where you don't have a board presence that you're looking to double their power, or you're dead already if you're playing an aggressive deck.
Yeah, it's a very win more card. Like I said, it's fun hitting somebody in the face with a 24/24 Iron Atronach, but you have an Iron Atronach in play.
Right. So, if it lived, then you're winning anyway.
Right. So it's definitely kind of a win more card, but
yeah.
Red has those other cards like even Volendrung. That has effectively the same effect. Like a +4/+4 is usually going to double most creatures.
What do you think about Dremora as a 5-cost 2/2 guard with this effect?
Oh, it would be insane, and I would love that because it would enable combo.
Right.
And I love combo. Combo is my favorite mechanic.
I think it would be broken, but it would be maybe a 6-cost 2/2 would be better.
You would see this in Archer, and it would ruin your day.
I think you would see it in every red deck for all of eternity.
You would see it played alongside a Tazcad for 12 to the face.
While we look at 10 costs as absurd with this card, I have to imagine there was a lot of testing in this where it started out way cheaper and they were like, oh god, this card ruins the game. Like, we need to make sure no one ever plays this card because this card is bananas.
Yeah, they obviously don't want combo to be a huge thing. Because like words like double, that's like the combo player's brain is like, oh yeah, because you can set up a situation where that double is like enormous, but at 10 Magicka you don't have much to play with.
Yes,
for combo purposes.
All right, well I'm very excited to see your Dramora Martinez deck become the meta. Because I already have two, man. I got two already. I don't even have to make many copies of this card.
Yeah, I've mostly been using him with like Night Shadow to make a big Night Shadow to gain all that health back late game. But yeah, he's a good finisher. Not a great finisher. There's better ones. But
you said you have all the cards. So how much did you invest to get all the cards, or do you just play Arena 24 hours a day for a while?
Oh, I definitely know. I'm not even rank 1 in Arena. I think I'm like rank 4. I paid I think it was about $600.
Okay.
Probably a little more, like $650-ish. I'll have to go back and look, but that's about what it was.
Yeah.
And after playing Hearthstone, I think I put like $1,500 into Hearthstone over the last few years, and I was like, man, if this is a card game, I love playing it. I'm gonna stream. I'm gonna make content. I'm just gonna put the money in right now, and I'll never have to buy another pack again.
Right.
Until I think expansions come out. But
that's really the interesting part, right? As a player, you don't need everything. You just need the meta decks and you're fine. But as a content creator, it gets boring after a while to be like, hey, you guys want to watch me play this really vanilla Archer deck that's awesome? After a while you're like, I want to play Wabbajack. And you're like, oh right, I don't have Wabbajack. I want to play this crazy deck. I'm missing 4 legendaries that I can't justify making right now. It's really the tough spot that I'm in, that I've put in enough money where I don't really want to put any more in, but I can only make good decks.
Yeah, that was my reasoning for putting the money in right now. Is I'm gonna play this game a lot. I'm going to try to be a content creator. I'm going to try to be a streamer, caster, that kind of thing. And so it's a business investment,
Sure.
as far as I'm concerned. But it's also fun, and people like to tune into the stream where it's like you're playing the wacky legendary they don't have, and never have thought to have because it doesn't show up on the Reddit tier list or whatever, to craft. And so it's been fun to like explore the new deck combinations with cards that are underplayed.
All right. Well, this is going longer than I expected because you're just such an interesting guy. So let's shift real quick into a very brief meta talk. I always like to talk about the meta at least a little bit. What would you consider to be, say, the top 2 to 3 lists right now on the meta?
I don't know if I'm the best person to ask at this point in time.
Because you're the person here.
Yeah, that's true. Ask the other guy here. No. So yeah, my legend rank right now is not great. I'm hovering around like 400 legend, mostly because I've been playing crazy weird stuff that isn't meta that I've been trying to make work.
Sure.
But I think Prophecy Assassin is really good for as far as tempo decks go. It has the ability to outrace any other tempo deck, mostly because of all the stuff you get to play for free. But I think people are starting to solve it, and the meta changes so quickly. I hit legend with this Prophecy Assassin deck in like 4 hours.
Sure.
One of the first days of the month, and then last night I went like 2-8 with it. So like, why I don't know. The deck plays itself. It's not complicated. Yep. But yeah, the people just are constantly innovating and constantly coming up with new tech card choices. So it's tough to like pin down what the meta is because it's especially in High Legend because it changes so often.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we got the staples. Control Mage is still strong.
Yep.
Ramp Scout is incredibly strong right now. I think Ramp Scout has a great matchup against everything except Mage.
Yeah.
So when you see when you see a lot of these really aggressive decks come in that kind of push Mage out of the meta a little bit, because then you see like Ramp Scout come back in and just kick everybody's butt, and then you see Mage come back in and kick everybody's butt. So it's kind of like it's a rotating circle of life.
Yeah,
but
I totally agree with that. I decide. So I got to number 9 with Control Mage. Then kind of screwed around a little bit, dropped to like 40, and was like, all right, enough is enough. We're gonna wreck some face here. Actually, no, I got to 9 with my Assassin deck. So I pulled back out my Assassin deck, proceeded to lose like 4 in a row, and then I was like, okay, all right, I don't know what's going on. Trusty old Control Mage is coming out. Lost about 4 more in a row. Suddenly I'm like 500. And I was like, what is happening? So I switched to Ramp Scout. And like you said, it beats basically everything except for Control Mage. And so I just, rolled off like 10 wins in a row, and I'm back to like 198 or something. So you're right. It's such an interesting dynamic, this Scout Control Mage dynamic, and where they are in the meta. It really affects other decks.
Yeah, so as far as like staples though, so Scout, Control Mage, Spell Sword Token, Prophecy Aggro Assassins, and then Monk's good.
Yeah,
Monk is good.
So Boom's Life is doing really well with Monk, and as I always say, is that because Boom's Life is good, or is that because Monk is good? I'm a little bit unsure because I don't have the cards. He forwarded me a list and was like, you should really try this Monk list. And I was like, you know what, Boom's Life? I'm going to. And I looked at it and had like 10 legendaries I didn't have. I was like, this is more expensive than Ramp Scout. What the hell's going on here?
Yeah, it's those Thieves' Dens, those legendary support cards. But I think it's a good deck. I'm not a good Monk player, honestly. To me, it's always been a weak deck because I'm a weak Monk player.
Yeah.
And I'm biased because I'm a human. But
for me, a lot of it is I don't have the cards. Like Descendant of Alkosh is a card that in a lot of other decks you can kind of get away with replacing it. You really can't in the Monk deck. You really want that one drop that they have to waste removal on, or it gets out of control. That's just so critical in that deck.
Yeah, so I think it's strong for sure. It punishes those. It has so much burst damage potential. You always have to be playing around. What if he has Master of Thieves, Thieves' Den, and all his stuff gets double attack? That's what's going through your head every time you're playing against Monk. So,
and
but
then
Boom's
with
Life's
that,
go ahead.
There's so many cards you have to remove, right? Because of that looming threat. If they play Descendant of Alkosh, you're like, geez, I should really remove that. They play the Master of Thieves, and you go, boy, I really need to remove that. And so then you waste a bunch of removal, and then they go Burglar in the Shadow Lane. And you go, oh god, I had plenty of removal, but it's gone now. I just lose to this freaking Burglar.
Yeah, it's something I've seen him play a lot. Dawnbreaker too, that unique legendary. So many legendaries in that deck. But yeah, just to get a snowball on like an Alkosh or a Cut Purse and say, if you don't have removal, I win.
Yeah, and you can't have endless removal, and of course I don't have Dawnbreaker. Like every card in his list I don't have. So if you ever hear me say like I don't really like Boom's Life, like his list that much, it means my terrible version that's missing every good card. I don't like that list at all.
But he's consistently top 20 at least. So it's a good deck in the right hands. Just gotta. It's one of those decks that requires a little more skill to pilot, because like I said, I couldn't hit top 10 with the Monk list to save my life because I don't play it enough.
Yep. I don't know if I could or not because I don't have the cards. It's like we were talking about being a content provider. That's a deck I'd really like to try and be able to have an educated opinion on, because people ask me nonstop, and I really just don't have a good educated opinion. It's a bad opinion based on a cruddy build.
Yeah, I have all the cards and I'm bad at it. So it's one of those cards it's one of those decks that is not it doesn't play itself.
Gotcha.
It's hard to pilot. You have to like know the nuances, know when to set up your lethal and how much you need, and be able to be. I'm bad at math, so be good at math and all your double attacks. Getting effects off these, then to be able to pilot it well. So.
All right. Well, there you go. That's where the meta is looking at right now. I want to thank you so much for coming on, Dovakyn. It's been such a great talk. And where can people find you online?
Oh, so yeah, I'm on Twitch, twitch.tv/Dovakyn. Recently got a Twitter with the same name, Dovakyn. Usually on Discord a lot, usually on Reddit a lot. Not hard to find me. But I would just want to thank you again for inviting me on the show. Sorry for keeping you long.
It's great.
Talk about this all day, But
same here. New podcast length,
Yeah.
12 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks a lot.
All right, yeah, thanks so much for coming. It was a great chat. You can find me. I stream 12 to 4 p.m. Pacific, Monday through Friday at Twitch TV Tiny Grimes. I have a YouTube channel that has some crazy name, but go ahead and look for it. I'll link it in the show notes. I have the podcast, other crazy videos. I put up this video the other day of losing to my own Allet in Arena. I played it turn, 3 on curve, and it ended up beating me. It was really embarrassing. Last thing, we do still have the Patreon page going. If you want to be a supporter of the show, I've realized I really do need a better mic. So that is going to be what I'm going to be buying with any Patreon money that comes in. So come be a part of the show if you want. The opening tier is only $1. So if you just want to chuck $1 every month, that would be amazing. All kinds of other tiers with other different levels of interest and how engaged you're going to be with me pre-show. You can even give your input if you are at certain levels. So again, thanks so much for coming, Dovakyn. I hope you guys enjoyed another episode of Secrets of the Scrolls, and we'll see you next week.